My entitled sister-in-law demands that we don't post any of our wedding photos online, as she said she was unhappy with the way she looked and that she felt she looked like a fat pig. So, as a solution, I cropped her out of all of our wedding photos so that we could still post about our wedding while also keeping my sister-in-law out of the picture. But now, as a result, she's freaking out on us, claiming that we're trying to erase her from the memory of our wedding. And with everybody slowly turning against me and my wife, I'm now left wondering if I might be the jerk in this situation, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my wife and I recently got married and it was amazing. The wedding was set at a riverside farm, and so we had photo shoots outside on the fields before the ceremony. We started taking photos at around noon, and my sister-in-law was one of the bridesmaids. My sister-in-law has always been a negative person ever since I met her and is always trying to make small judgmental comments, while my wife is an incredibly kind person. They have very different personalities, so I never questioned why they weren't close and assumed that my sister-in-law was included in her group of bridesmaids to appease my wife's parents. Because my sister-in-law and my wife have never been very close, she was at the end of the line of bridesmaids and usually was at the edges of group photos. While taking the photos, my sister-in-law was the only one complaining about things like the sunny weather and how her dress was absorbing the heat. I don't know much about dresses, but it was maybe about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Most people in the photo shoot group ignored her comments, and it wasn't an issue for the rest of the day. We ended up getting the photos of both the shoot and the ceremony from the photographer 3 weeks after the wedding. We promptly sent the photos to the people in the photo shoot and told them that we planned on using the photos on social media. Now, most people thanked us for the photos, but my sister-in-law called my wife and was very angry, yelling that she looked like a fat pig in every photo and demanded that we not use any of the photos with her in them. For context, my sister-in-law is bigger than my wife, but not to an extreme extent. She doesn't look unhealthy, and I've never heard her have any body issues before, but admittedly, I wouldn't know much about it. In the wedding photos, she doesn't really look any different from her normal self. My wife tried to reason with her, saying she looks just as pretty as everyone else, but my sister-in-law did not want to hear it. She reiterated that if we used any photo of her on social media, then she would never speak to us again and would put us on blast. My wife was really hurt by her sister's outburst, and I was very bothered that she thought she could tell us what to do with our special moment. Well, this is where I might be the jerk in this situation. I decided that if she had that much of a problem with this, then she didn't need to be in any of the photos. So I cropped her out and I posted those versions to social media. I thought it would be fine, and it was easy since she was at the edge anyways. Well, after posting, she then called me even angrier than before and accused me of trying to erase her from the memory of the wedding. I told her I only did it to accommodate her wishes while also getting to use my own wedding photos. My sister-in-law hasn't talked to us in a week, and my wife's parents are mad at us for upsetting my sister-in-law. While my wife is on my side, she thinks that I could have been more mature about it, but I don't think I did anything wrong, and I accommodated her already unreasonable request. So am I the jerk for cropping her out of my wedding photos? What should I do? No, you're not the jerk at all, because I would have done the exact same thing. If she doesn't like the photos and she thinks she looks like a fat pig, as she put it, then cropping her out of your photos, in my opinion, is the only solution. For you to be denied the right to post your own wedding photos on social media or put them wherever you want, all because of your sister-in-law acting like a very selfish individual, in my opinion, is incredibly selfish and unbelievably toxic. She's trying to control your wedding photos and is like, oh wow, if you post these, I will never talk to you again. So in my opinion, your solution makes total sense. She really thinks that she looks bad in these photos, then fine, I'll just crop you out and post them without you in it. But it's so convenient that because you did that, she then fires back and says, you're trying to erase me from the memory of the wedding. But it's like, hang on, which one is it? If you're going to be offended that you're in the wedding photos and start demanding that none of this get posted, then you have no right to get upset when someone posts it without you in it. Like, this idiot wants to try and play both sides of the fence and still get offended no matter what you do. Like, that is so selfish in my opinion, especially when it comes to your photos of your wedding day. So in my opinion, I think you are well within your right to do whatever you want with those photos. And it's so funny to me that the parents are stepping in and being like, wow, why did you upset your sister-in-law? Because it's proof right there that they would rather dance around the issue and try to avoid approaching the sister-in-law instead of calling her out on her awful behavior, because the way she's acting is completely inappropriate, and I think you're well within your right to edit her out. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I overreacting by saying that my stepson owes me an apology for the way he treated me and my wife? Because right now, my wife is requesting that I'd be the bigger person and just forgive him. But at this point, I'm still so angry at the way he treated us that I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my stepson, who's 20 years old, graduated high school just over a year ago. February of last year, my wife and I helped him get a loan for a truck, which was about $7,000. At the end of May or early June, he packs his things and moves out to live with his girlfriend, with whom he knows we are not overly fond of. And this is all without ever telling us that he's leaving, and we find out he's gone when we both get home from work. He then refuses to return any phone calls at any time, because apparently he's too busy, but somehow will immediately respond to text messages almost every time. I try to call him when I realize that he hasn't just taken his things, but some of mine as well. But when I do, I get told that he can't talk as he's too busy, but then spends the next 2 hours immediately responding to what could have been handled in a 5-minute phone call. By this point, I'm angry, so I said, fine, you will need me long before I need you. And I decided to stop initiating contact. And for the record, I've been with his mom for 8 years, so I've been in his life. At the end of last July, my aunt passed from cancer, but even then, I still did not get a single word from the boy. Now, my dad and I were very close. My stepson knows this and knows my father very well. And at the end of November, my dad passed away and left everything to me. But once again, there is still radio silence. 2 weeks to the day after my dad passes, my last remaining aunt passes away with cancer, and I still don't hear anything from him. At the end of this last May, my stepdaughter is graduating from the 8th grade, and my father-in-law is coming into town from 4 states away. The boy and his girlfriend show up at my dad's house while I'm at work because somehow they know we've been remodeling and planning to move in there, so he can't claim ignorance to dad passing away because they literally knew to look for us. The neighbors call me and they let me know that they are at the house, so I call and I tell them that they can leave now or I can have them arrested for trespassing, but they are not to be there if I or my wife are not there. So apparently they're here for the graduation and it's really tense, but things go fairly smoothly, and after graduation, they go back to their place maybe 3 hours away from us. 2 weeks ago, the boy calls his mom to tell her that he and his girlfriend have split up, but they are still living together, and she's moved another guy in with them, and he wants to know if we'll make a truck payment for him. Oh, and he also told us that his truck has been broken down with a ruptured brake line for almost 2 months. I said that we are not making a payment unless I have some kind of collateral to ensure that he will pay us back, because he has also quit his job at the same time they came down for the graduation and has been unemployed ever since. A few days pass and he asked if he can come back home. My wife agrees to letting him come back, and I make some phone calls to borrow a car trailer and a 1-ton pickup to haul him home. And trust me, he knows that I'm not happy, so it is literally a 3-hour ride in complete silence. Well, last night he comes in after spending some time with his dad's family, whom he had treated the same way, where he totally cut contact with them until he wanted something, and he is now telling the wife and I about some things that they had talked about. And honestly, I just tuned out of the conversation. After he leaves the room, she turns to me and starts trying to discuss some of it, and I said, I'm sorry, I tuned it all out. I'm still very upset with him, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. And in order to keep my cool, I had tuned out the conversation with him. She then asked me to do something, which I view as a very unfair thing to ask of me. She says, well, can't you just forgive him for me? I told her that's a tall order, and I don't think it's fair to ask me, since he has not once apologized for all the lies he told, the failure to even say he was sorry to hear that my dad or either of my aunts passed away, as well as showing up at my dad's house, or for that matter, a thank you for coming and getting him and his things, despite how angry I am with him. And I also said, why is it that you feel it's okay to ask that of me, but not okay for you to talk to him about how he's treated all of us and suggest an apology? I've had my job 3 years, and when the guys at work heard what had happened to my dad, they gave us a card, but I literally live with this kid and I couldn't even get a text message. So am I overreacting in this situation? What should I do? Oh man, this one really upsets me. The son in this story is absolutely in the wrong, and your wife is absolutely incorrect in my opinion if she thinks you're the one that needs to initiate any kind of forgiveness that might be going on. Your stepson literally should be on his hands and knees thanking you and your wife for even letting him back in the house, especially after the way he ghosted you and your wife and left literally all of the sudden overnight. Because the truth of the matter is that he only called you up because he needed something, not because he cared about you or he was sorry about your family passing away. It literally all came down to the fact that he wanted something out of you and he knew he could get it probably through his mom instead of you. His behavior in my opinion is incredibly spoiled and it's super selfish. Seriously, it's just so uncalled for. And I think the original poster hit the nail on the head. Why should you just automatically forgive him if he he hasn't taken any steps to try and be forgiven. Like, why is that on your back and not his? He's the one that wronged literally the entire family, not you. You literally bent over backwards to make sure this kid's needs were met, and then he runs off with his girlfriend and then begs to come back. So no, I don't think you're overreacting for demanding an apology, because truly, I think your stepson sounds like a spoiled brat. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for forcing people to move out of my seats at a demolition derby, especially after I reserved them 2 weeks in advance? Because after they refused to move and I got the cops involved to make them move, they said that I'm a disgusting individual and that I'm also a terrible person. And now it's left me wondering if I did something wrong or if I might be in the right for deciding to stand up for myself. Here's what happened. Okay, so let's get right down to it, shall we? I bought 5 tickets 2 weeks ago for seats at the demolition derby happening near us. And when you buy your tickets online, you must choose your own seats. And I specifically got aisle tickets, so it would be easier to leave in case my 2-year-old got fussy. Well, the event started at 6 o'clock, but that includes the opening ceremony and some little kid races, so we waited an hour to head in because of that, and the line was exceedingly long, so we decided to occupy our toddler with other attractions until the real demolition derby started. Well, when we go in, we see that all of my seats are taken. We politely asked them to leave, and every single one of them told us that they had already been there for an hour, and that someone was in their spot, so we need to go find new ones. But then their story changed by saying that they double sold the tickets for this spot. We asked them politely to please move or we would get security multiple times, but they just kept saying, "Go ahead, we're not moving." So I did exactly that and I grabbed security. We apologized to security and explained the situation, and they told us we were going to get our seats and not to apologize for standing up for ourselves, and so they followed us to ensure that these people would move. Well, when we came along with security, they literally could not believe it, and they started calling us disgusting, saying things like, "I hope you're happy, you are all just terrible people." We responded that they should take it up with the ticket people since I had receipts that I bought them 2 weeks ahead of time, and the cop did ask to see my tickets and send the date of my email for proof of purchase. And you know what? I was going to get the seat that I paid for. If they had just gotten up the first time when we asked politely, they wouldn't be embarrassed with the cops standing right there. The people complained to the cops, and so the cops told them to show them their tickets, and they would happily do the same to whoever is sitting in their spot. But instead, they stormed off saying that it wasn't fair. Now, you could get tickets day of for standing room only, but even those sell out really fast. And you know what? With all things considered, my son had the best time. There were multiple fires in the engines, and almost all the cars were totaled, and you could smell the burning radiators from the stands. I kind of feel like a jerk, but I don't actually feel bad about it. Had I been at a professional sporting event, concert, or a theater production, I definitely would have done the same thing. So now I turn to the internet. Was I the jerk for making these people move? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. These people not only stole your seats, but they also tried to make up these bogus excuses as to why they stole the seats. Like they had an excuse for literally anything you could ask them. And they did all of that in some desperate hope that you would just walk away, that you would accept defeat and stand in the back like these people probably paid for. And in my opinion, I cannot stand people who act like this. They go in there and they take the nearest seat, and then they just pray that nobody shows up and they get to reap the reward of sitting in that spot. It's all super toxic, and I just can't stand when people do this. So no, you didn't do anything wrong. These people are the real disgusting individuals who really are terrible people for trying to steal your tickets. You reserved them 2 weeks in advance in hopes that you would have a good spot to watch the event. So for them to act like they're somehow entitled to it, in my opinion, is completely disgusting. An entitled customer tries to argue with me over $2 when it comes to buying a salad bowl. And after dealing with customers like this all the time, I'm honestly so sick of these petty complaints that I really hope people like this don't come in anytime soon. Here's what happened. So I work at a thrift store, and the way that we price our items is by category. For example, if you bought a jigsaw puzzle or a stand mixer at a regular store, they would most likely ring up as jigsaw puzzle and stand mixer respectively. But at my store, they would ring up as toys and kitchen instead. As a result, we get a lot of people switching tags from one item to another. Now, we can't explicitly say that the person that bought something with a wrong tag to the register is the one that did it. We say, "I'm sorry, but the tag that is on this item is incorrect. The actual price is this amount." Or we'll say something like, "We have to send it to the back to get a new tag," or even suggesting that we call someone to get the correct price. Now, I am a lead cashier, and I am able to give a price to something on the spot, as long as the customer doesn't mind it being non-returnable. Well, here we have this customer with a salad bowl bowl with a wrong tag and the cashier doesn't know the real price, as the tag on it says $2.99. When I get up to the front, I explain to the woman that the price is incorrect and that I know we don't sell our salad bowls at $2.99 unless they are plastic or something like that, and that I could instead sell it to her for $4.99. Well, when I said that, she was definitely not happy with me and explained that there were tons of salad bowls back there that were this price and that we always are doing this to her, that every time she comes in to buy something, we change the price of something that she is buying, which really made me want to say to her that if we are always changing the price on stuff that you buy, maybe it's because you are switching the tags. Now, I didn't actually say this, but it does kind of seem suspicious, right? Well, when she said that, I just smiled at her and I explained that we are not changing the price because of her, but because instead someone switched the tags on her items and that the tag is incorrect. This is just our store policy and that I could call a manager if she really wanted me to. Well, when I said that, she said no, that it was the fact that we are changing the price even though we priced it at $2.99 and that she would have bought it if it was $2 or even $12. Well, I explained to her again that we don't price our salad bowls at $2.99 and that this was just wrong and that I was giving her a correct price based on our pricing range. She ended up buying the bowl, and when I had time, I went to our kitchen aisle and I looked at the prices on each of our salad bowls to look for any of the ones that are labeled as $2.99. Well, every single salad bowl, bigger or smaller than the one she bought, was literally $6.99, and hers was the fanciest one, so I think the $4.99 bowl was a great deal. But regardless, I'm so tired of customers trying to argue with me about prices that seriously, it really wears me down and it's super annoying. Yeah, this one really kind of strikes a chord with me because I've dealt with something like this similar when I worked retail. Like seriously, it seems like sometimes the customer is unwilling to listen to whatever you're saying and will get hung up on a $2 difference that they are completely wrong about. And I'm sure if you had more time on your hands, you probably would have loved nothing more than going back there with her and having her show you what the prices actually are for the bowls. Because chances are the price was definitely not for $2.99, and she is most likely the one who's switching it around behind your back. Am I the jerk for leaving my friend while we were on vacation after she decided to go off and spend the night with a couple of guys that she just met that night? Because now I'm finding out that something bad happened to my friend, and right now I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong for deciding to leave. Here's what happened. My friend and I are 22-year-old females, and we drove to our vacation in North Carolina, and the trip started off rough, as my friend was being very short-tempered and rude for the duration of the trip. The night before I left, we went out drinking. My friend decided to befriend a group of guys and bar hop with them. I reluctantly followed as the hotel room was in her name, and she had the only key, and I did not want to just leave her out with them. Eventually, she got cut off at one of the bars we were at, and as we walked back to the hotel, she's walking with these two random guys. And mind you, we both have boyfriends. I tell her I am not going back to the hotel with these guys, and I will find a way to get my own room if I really need to. She then says that she will just go hang out with the guys somewhere else and mentions that she has lost the hotel key. I obviously tried tirelessly to convince her not to leave with the guys and to just ditch them. I tried to get her to go to the front desk and get a new room key, as her name was the only name for the room, so I couldn't do it. I tried so hard, but there was just no convincing her at this point. So the last I see of her is that she is at the valet trying to get her car. I then call my grandmother and I cry on the phone to her explaining the situation. Then I fall asleep on a bench outside the hotel, seeing as I can't get a room key myself. My grandma was able to call the hotel for me and somehow talk them into getting me a key. I then slept for a few hours, and when I woke up, I booked a flight home. I no longer felt safe with my friend because of the situation I was put in. I looked at her location, and she was an hour and a half away at what looked like a military base. I texted my friend and I let her know I was not okay with anything that happened, and I did not feel comfortable being with her the duration of the trip or driving home with her, so I decided to fly back that day. Well, she woke up and answered saying that she had no idea where she was at and didn't know what happened the night before, and she didn't know how she was going to get back to the hotel. But by this time, I was already at the airport about to board, and by the time I am off my plane, she had blocked me on everything. Well, today I wake up and I have text messages and calls from an investigator saying that he works for NCIS and that there was a case reported by my friend. He wanted to set up an interview so that I could better help them understand what happened that night. Now, my friend has not talked to me at all. However, she has talked to a mutual friend of ours saying that something bad happened and that she's been at the hospital for 2 days, but it has not even been 48 hours since we were at the bars together. So am I the jerk for leaving? If so, So what should I do differently? And what should I do about this situation moving forward? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. You clearly dodged a very sketchy situation, and you absolutely did the right thing by not getting involved in what your friend was doing. Like, I can only imagine the worst of what actually happened at that military base, but just think what could have happened to you if you decided to go along with her, if you decided not to stand your ground and try to be there for her in some kind of way. Like, your gut instinct in that situation absolutely probably saved your life, because your friend is out of her mind if she thought it was a good idea to go bar hopping with guys that she's never met. Like, those are the prime suspects that would harm her, and clearly something did happen. And you know what? That honestly is not your fault. It's an awful situation, don't get me wrong. Like, this really is very unfortunate, and I really do feel bad for your friend. But at the end of the day, this is literally her own fault. This does not fall on your shoulders in the slightest, and I know if I was in your shoes, I definitely would have left the next day as well. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.